Warning: the Chaotic Culture Podcast is a program for mature audiences. The language and content presented in this podcast is of a mature nature that some audiences may not find suitable. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. We are all living in a chaotic period, and this is a creative space where that chaos and social constructs may collide. But it is up to us to embrace and celebrate the culture, but to destroy and survive the chaos. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chaos Zone. And this is the Chaotic Culture Podcast with Ked the Pro and Law. Please proceed with caution. Well, what an interesting turn of events this has been. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Good morning once again. It's your boy Ked the Pro here, and welcome to another episode of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. Once again, joined by the beautiful Nasa.
Hello.
And of course, my homeboy Law's in the building. What's going on?
What's going on? What it do?
All right. So, yeah, this is, I don't know how to say how I'm feeling. Like, I'm hopeful, but at the same time, I am, I guess, cautiously optimistic is the words that I want to use here. For those of you who don't know, of course, the election just passed, and after 4 days after everything was all said and done, the election was called for Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. to become the next president of the United States of America. And of course, with Kamala Harris becoming his vice president. And for those who also didn't know, of course, Kamala Harris will be the first woman to ever hold the spot of vice president, as well as the first person of color to hold that position as well. Mm-hmm. So, it has been quite the 4-year journey for a lot of us, especially for those of us who unfortunately were or are not fans of the current occupant in the White House, whose time will be up as of January 20th, 2021 at approximately 12 p.m. But, I mean, you know, there were some people who obviously had his views, and obviously during the election period, you had 70 million people who still voted for him, which is crazy because he increased his number from last time. So, that being said, how does everybody feel about the way that this election turned out?
Ladies first.
I think this election turned out how it was supposed to turn out. Exactly how the process worked.
Yep.
I was watching news clips and kind of like trying to stay updated as far as what's going on, as far as what went on with the election. And I will say that like they kept mentioning a process and like it's working. Like this is a smooth voting process. This has been a very smooth voting process than we've had in previous years. So it worked in its favor. And also Trump showing his ass worked in his favor too. So now you got now you're unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
And the cops will be waiting for you at January 20th.
Yep.
At 12 p.m. at your door. So, you know?
Yeah.
I will say, you know, I think it's more so a relief that Biden won.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be a Black woman and to see one in the office is it's crazy to see.
Very.
Like the day that they announced the winner, you could just feel the energy shift. Like you could really just feel it was a beautiful day. It really was. It was just a nice day. Like,
yeah. To comment on that, I will say when they made the announcement, especially for me, it was, I can say it was a huge sigh of relief. I had been on election day, I'm not going to mince words here. I was nervous. I was really, really nervous, especially with the election day voting results coming out and seeing people, who voted for same day. You're just like, dang, maybe he might actually get it this time. But I'll be like, you know what? There's still like a million votes out there, or millions of votes out there that haven't been counted because they were mailed in and absentee. So you know what? Just relax. This thing is not over yet. Breathe, and let's see what happens. That's just a piece of how I was feeling. Law, how are you feeling?
So from the actual election day, mind you, again, I did vote early, so a lot of my energy went towards making sure that our people got out and did their part.
Mm-hmm.
The day of, I knew that there wasn't going to be an official decision just because of how the legislature is set up.
Yep.
I had to do a little bit more research in terms of how the parties had set up to go about actually conducting election day and counting.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that, it wasn't going to be until days later that we were going to actually get a
A result.
yeah, it kind of I'm not gonna say it disgruntled me, but it kind of made me upset for the fact that I don't think in years past it took as long. Like it might have taken like a couple more days, but just to see the volume of people's opinions actually being placed, um and the emphasis behind the importance of voting kind of just it really, really, I don't know. It's it was just hard to put words to, honestly, just because of, for me, the importance of making sure that we reestablish what it was that we wanted for our country.
That's real. Um, I'm going to say, for me, especially because I will be the first to admit that when it came to knowing the processes, I wasn't 100% sure on how all the processes worked. I knew that some states, like Texas, like Florida, like Virginia, counted their ballots early, like, okay, let's get these out the way, and then let's go on and count the election day votes. I was not aware that, of course, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, that they wanted to wait until after their legislation said, no, we're going to count all the mail-in votes after everybody has already voted. So, and I'm guessing if you're, some people say that's by design for the Republicans because they're like, okay, then it gives them time to be like, oh, this is fraud, this is fraud, this is fraud, and whatnot. And obviously, that's not the case. I mean, this election, and as Nasa said, the process is working. The process is really, really working in that people are watching this carefully. It's really, really hard and really, really difficult to commit like voter fraud or election day fraud or any kind of fraud in that matter. Like it's really, really, really difficult to do that because as far as the opposition is concerned, you've got people are literally just they're watching these votes being counted and they're saying, okay, what is legal, what is not, or maybe this ballot needs to be cured. If certain states have that rule where your ballot can be cured before it's counted, then you can do that. Some states didn't allow for that. Also, find out which ballots were not properly stuffed or which ballots were crumpled up, if they were mismarked. This is a really, really careful process. And in the end, obviously we see that that Biden got the votes that he needed. And it's really, really interesting to note that we've come as far as we have. I can say again that I'm really, really excited. But I think that this election really just showed a lot of things.
It reminded me of you're a waiter or a waitress at a restaurant,
mm-hmm.
and you have a party that comes in to dine. And as you walk up and you service them for the first initial time, you get all their drink orders, and before you can even bring the drinks back, there's a complaint.
Right.
Oh, well, this booth isn't in the right area that I would like to be in. So you're like, okay, let's make the observation and make the correction and accommodate you. Put them in a booth or a seat where they're comfortable. Then it comes back. I don't think I'm gonna like the silverware. Can we have fresh silverware? You know what I'm saying? It was like a lot of minute details that were left out
mm-hmm.
that they thought were gonna play a major part into how the decision was going to go, and it in fact turned out to not even truly affect anything for real.
That's real. What does everybody think about the reaction to the election itself, as far as one, people celebrating in the streets, or if you're Trump supporters? I'm not even going to say Republicans, because there were some Republicans who voted for Biden, as evidenced by Maine, and I'll get into that later. But what does everyone feel about the reaction to some of his supporters and some of the people who, of course, voted for Biden?
Oh, it was expected.
Mm.
It was expected from the Trump supporters to react the way they did. He's the ideal of white supremacy. He's that. They follow that. So, I mean, of course they're gonna be mad. Of course they're really trying to really hard. They tried extremely hard to hold down or keep that white supremacy in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, the people who voted for Biden, it's great. Please support. Like, please, go out and cheer. But like, as far as like the Trump supporters, I mean, it was expected from them.
I think it just really set in stone that the dude's crazy. Like,
yeah,
you're sitting here saying that something that has taken over 200,000 lives, mind you, those are 200,000 lives that could have voted.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
That could have voted. That
you got people that are sick that probably may have voted, or they could not have voted because they were sick. You know what I'm saying? It really brought to light that, he wasn't fit to be in the role that he held.
Mm-hmm.
He was never fit. He was never fit to be in that role.
And I'll say it again, like, I feel like he ran this country as a Fortune 500 company for 4 years instead of a nation with millions of valuable lives, from the homeless all the way up to the wealthy. And then by doing that, he greatly divided the racial stance that was sort of established, because before, I mean, granted, there was always hints of racism, but it wasn't until these last 10 years that it has really escalated and has now become a thing.
I think what has happened, as far as like the whole racism, I really feel like it really showed face, and where like people actually saw it for what it was when he got in office.
Yeah,
that was the moment. It was just like a gradual revealance of how ugly America's history has gotten.
Yeah.
Where racism has taken, this country. You know what I'm saying? And then this last year,
I mean, it was the foundation of the country.
It was the foundation of the country, absolutely. And it was that was the foundation of the country. Exactly. White supremacy was the foundation of the country. and it just showed face. And like at the beginning of this year, I was just like, I had of course set my little resolutions, the New Year's resolutions. Mm-hmm. I was like, God, if 2020 is clear vision, please give it,
all right,
so that we can see clearly. This was the year that everyone saw it clearly, that this man is not fit, that racism showed its ugly face yet again.
Mm-hmm.
Very well said. Honestly, I feel the same way. With everything that had been happening in this year, it as y'all said, it shows that he clearly was not ready for the job, and he should not have ever been in that position to start. But unfortunately, the way that this country was built, he took advantage of a system as far as the Electoral College, an archaic system, and he used it in his favor. So that's how he was able to get the votes. And on top of that, something a point was made was that my mom said she really truly believed that the people just really didn't vote for Hillary because of the fact that she was a woman. Mm-hmm. There were some other things, but yes, it honestly, it came down to that they really didn't believe that Hillary. Not that they didn't believe that she couldn't do the job. They just didn't want her for one reason or the other, whether it's because she was a woman or because they just didn't like some of the policies that she had, or just because they didn't like her to start. Whereas there were genuine folk who, granted, no matter how you may feel about Biden, I mean, there were genuine people who did like Biden and do like Biden. I'm kind of in the middle. Yes, Biden has had a problematic past in his political career, but that being said, Biden showed throughout this race that he can truly change, and he has changed from the 28-year-old senator who got voted in to where he is now at about to be 78 years old, and that he recognizes what needs to be done in order to truly lead this country. It's not ideal. He wasn't the ideal candidate, but that being said, he had enough people who truly believed in him and truly believed that he could be the person who could unite the country, as well as there was a lot of those who just wanted Trump gone. And I think that's what it boils down to as well. It's a combination of those people that helped him get into office. But there's more behind that. What were you about to say, Ron?
It was funny because one of my coworkers basically said that this election was voting for the lesser of two evils. And I felt that wholeheartedly. Not saying that Biden and Kamala are evil, but like you said, their track record hasn't always been for the benefit of Black people, mm-hmm. or one denomination or race, if that makes sense. So, yes, to exercise your right, all for it. It might not have been the ideal vote, but at the end of the day, it was still something that needed to get the greater evil out of the way.
Exactly. Also, I think what it boils down to as well is just that you can truly see that at least a good bit of Americans still are very, very well. Let's just call it what it is. Let's call it a spade. They're racist. A lot of them still want those old racist policies. Mm-hmm. A lot of them still believe that any equal rights to any minorities is taking away their rights because they've been on the top for so long, and now within the next but within 30 years, they're probably going to be the minority in this country, and they want to continue to hold on to that power. And it was still evidence that, in the down ballot elections, unfortunately, we're in a spot now where we really have to depend on Georgia in order for the Senate to get out of the hands of someone who I think is low-key worse than Trump, Mitch McConnell, mm-hmm. and put it in the hands of Democrats. We have to depend on Georgia to come through in order to get Purdue out of there, as well as racist-ass Loeffler. I can go into a whole tirade on Kelly Loeffler. Get her out, please. But if you're listening in Georgia, I just have one thing to say. Please, 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 please vote. Your job is not done. It is not over until January 5th for you guys. So if you are under the age of 18 but turn 18 before January 5th, get registered to vote and go out and make a difference. Get Reverend Warnock and Representative Ossoff into the U.S. Senate. If you can do that, then pretty much it'll be a dead even 50-50 split in the Senate. But it will be Democrats who take control because Kamala Harris will be the tiebreaker vote. So it'll force the Senate to actually come and compromise, obviously. But my whole thing about this whole voter fraud situation with all the Trump people and whatnot, and all they're saying voter fraud. If Democrats or if people who wanted Trump gone were really capable of massive election voter fraud, do you really think that Mitch McConnell would still be a U.S. senator?
Nope.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point.
And a lot of the things that was said by the one that shall not be named, if you truly, use even 2% of your brain, you can discern what's truth and what's false. You know what I'm saying? So like just like sitting and listening to some of his interviews and the debates that he's held and press conferences, he didn't know a lick of beans from anything that he was asked about. And then his party, I mean, I guess that's what their job is, to, I guess, keep him informed and in the know. But truly speaking, a bunch of idiots. You shouldn't try to write speeches to make someone who clearly doesn't care whether they sound right or wrong. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you try your hardest to make someone sound and look good, and it's just all bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, end of the day, I think I think America made the right choice. I think we definitely made the right choice here. And as you said before, some of the things that he said, I can even tell you just from some of the interviews that guy has said, and some of the interviews that he's done with the media, the debates that he's had, the way that he just talks anyway, is just a wonder, like, how in the world did he even get this far? But people responded to that, and he stoked division and hatred amongst his base. And there are a major group of people, white people, and even some of us who are not kinfolk to us, even though they might be skinfolk, who have and share those same ideals. And it's really crazy. And then there are those who just voted because he had an R behind his name. It was just that, oh, he's a Republican, we're still going to vote Republican regardless of if we can't stand him. Whereas Democrats, granted, most times they'll vote if it's a Democrat behind his name, or if a D behind his name, pause. But you can tell that on the left side of the aisle, people hold their candidates and their senators and congressmen a little more to task and hold them more accountable when they flub up. Unfortunately, that cannot be said for the same side, at least not in my view. And looking at it from me paying attention to politics all the way from the year 2000 to now, it's just crazy that we've come to this point. There are still, unfortunately, a group of people who have that mindset, and it'll be people that we work with. It'll be people that we see every day sometimes, and you never know. Found out a friend of mine who happens to be skinfolk that I've known for a long time. Apparently, she has these quote unquote conservative values. Mainly, I think her reason was just because when we were arguing on Instagram, she talked about people who, she pretty much called out the LGBT community and started using Bible verses. And I'm like, okay, look, I'm a Christian too, but I don't have a heaven or hell to put any of these people in. Let them live.
Nor is that your place. Like, When it comes to the community, I let them live.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't want nobody to be able to tell me whether or not I could and be able to go and date. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or tell me what I can and can't do with my body. You know what I'm saying? Like,
why does it matter?
It doesn't.
It shouldn't. But you have people here who don't believe in that.
Because
they should
that's
have
not the
equal
first
rights.
thing that's not the first thing you notice about a person when you meet them.
Right.
That's not the first thing you notice about a person when you meet them. When you meet a person, what's the first thing you notice when you meet a person?
For me, it's all about how they're approaching their personality. For me, like, and if you respect me, I respect you. If you talk to me like with a kind heart, I'm going to respond in kind. Mm-hmm. I honestly don't care. You could love a rat for all I care. I don't care. If you want to be just as miserable as a heterosexual couple and get taxed the same way, by all means, have at it. This is your life, and whether you believe it's a choice or not, this is their lives, and you should have no say whatsoever on how the LGBTQ plus community moves or not, because that's not you. If that's not you, don't worry about it. Get out of other people's lives. Like we say, stay out of black people's business. Stay out of their business. Let them
you
live.
In my business.
Right.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Like, it shouldn't matter, but you still have those people who voted like that. And honestly, I was so in shock because I never knew that side of her. But I was like, so you're pretty much a single issue voter. Forget the kids in cages. Forget the fact that he called majority African countries shithole countries. Forget the fact that he might take away our healthcare and your healthcare and your kids' healthcare without anything to replace with it. Forget the fact that he has stoked racial division and pretty much said that there were people on both sides. Forget the fact that his supporters have all come out in droves and called each and every one of us, different names at one point or another, or said some inhumane things to us. Forget all of that. But because he is against a marriage equality, I'm going to vote this way. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I've never been a single issue voter. Never. And I don't think I could ever be that way. Even in the terms of abortion. Again, it's whether I agree with it or not. That ain't my decision to make. I'm not a woman. I think that's just common sense, but
men like to make the laws.
I guess that's what it comes down to. Is the patriarchy, what they say.
I read a article earlier today about how the issue of what America is white Americans, and it was about how, like, if we're gonna keep it clear, 80%, white Americans make up 80% of the country. Mm-hmm. So their greatest downfall is that they want America to fail.
They weren't even the ones who built the country up.
Right. They're the biggest. The whole make a great again. You've accepted failure. That's what you want for America. Like, yeah. That's just what it is. I mean, I really need to find that article because it was a really good article. But I mean, it stated facts, like the reality is, and a lot of them are not going to take the honest truth, the reality of it. This is the history that y'all built.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting article. We'll definitely have to take a look at that. Don't move, guys. We'll be right back. Just gonna take a short break. What's good, y'all? It's Ked the Pro here. Just thought I would put in, you guessed it, another plug from another Hamptonian who owns another business. Our next business highlight is KSS Brand. At KSS Brand is a high-quality women's essential line created by CEO Christina Stewart. Christina is a graduate from the illustrious Hampton University, and from there she has created her own path of being an entrepreneur that focuses on women empowerment and self-care. She aims to contribute to helping young women feel confident, self-assured, and live up to their full potential. Her first set of products from her new brand are high-quality lip glosses. These lip glosses are designed to not only make you look good, but also make you feel good by incorporating properties such as vitamin E oil and coconut oil for skin moisturization, as well as aromatherapy oils such as chamomile oil, which is good for reducing stress and anxiety. You can find her brand page on Instagram at KSS Brand, and her website is www.kssbrand.com. What's up, fam? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. So, in today's shameless plug, you already know who I'm putting on. It is Mr. Addison Hayden Jr. and his new music app called Candle Music. Now, just in case you didn't hear it in the interview, just wanted to go ahead and put a little plug out here for him. Candle Music specializes in bringing people together through music. We give users and artists the opportunity to spread their playlist to their selected radius and stream it live. So this isn't your normal music application or your normal music streaming app. This is not just Spotify. This isn't just Pandora or Apple Music or even Google Music. This is something completely different and will completely change the game, in my opinion. So if you haven't gotten the chance to check it out, definitely go to your app store, whether it's through Google Play or whether it's through the Apple store. And of course, check out Candle Music. Also, be sure that you follow Candle Music on Instagram. That's Candle with a K. So Candle_music. Check it out. We would really appreciate it. I definitely know that if you check this music app out, it'll bless your life in one way or another. So once again, check out Candle Music, either in Google Play or the Apple Store. And also check them out on Instagram at Candle_music. Real quick, just gotta take a moment here just to acknowledge and to say rest in peace to the longtime host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek. Really learned a lot watching Jeopardy over the years as a little kid, and seeing someone that you're used to seeing all the time no longer here, it's really going to sting. But I know I can't say I know what it feels like to fight pancreatic cancer, because that's literally, I've never had cancer and that's literally one of the worst ones. But I know the feeling to lose a loved one to pancreatic cancer, because I lost my godfather to it back in 2012. It's not easy. It's really, really not easy. Granted, he lived to 80 years old. He lived a good full life, but still, for lack of a better term, F cancer. Cancer sucks. And it's really just kind of hard to say. And I guess you could say that he was a hero, but it's really kind of hard to see a hero pass away from that. So definitely rest in peace to Alex Trebek. He will be sorely, sorely missed. So with that, in return to talking about this election, there are things that we still need to do, of course, obviously, to improve the next election cycle. So just real quick, Law, what do you think what are some improvements you think that we can make as a country?
First and foremost, when it comes down to counting these ballots, we need to start counting them as quickly and efficiently as possible. I don't think that we should be waiting till the day afterwards to find out a result, because I think that only builds more mass hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
And me personally, I don't like when emotions are the true make or break of an event or an outing, if that makes sense. Um, a lot of people voted this time because they were fed up with the just complete disgusting nature of how it was being ran the last 4 years. So I think moving forward, we as a people, as a nation, need to continue to be open and voice the things that we would like to see and change. And granted, it's not always going to work in the favor of us, but I feel like with more emphasis and with more light brought into it, we aren't the only people that are feeling that way. And until we can make a change and get a change out there, we just have to advocate for what it is that we want.
Where one of the things, as you said, to make sure that the mail-in ballots get voted in as quickly as possible. Um, I don't foresee that happening in the next election, but then again, never say never, because who goodness knows 2020 dropped some bombshells on us.
Hello.
So, but with that, when it comes to mail-in and absentee ballots, I do think that the legislators need to take a real close look into that and just start to say, like, for those of them who decide to count the mail-in ballots afterwards, they need to just go ahead and count them now if they've gotten them already, and then continue counting those that have been postmarked on or before election day and they hadn't arrived on election day as well. Um, I don't know why, if people in other states decide that they wanted to make it so hard for somebody to vote when voting should be as easy as possible. Again, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud, but you have these conspiracy theorists out there who are trying to throw that around. And of course, you have those who just really believe in suppressing your vote. And so they're going to make it as hard as possible for you to vote, excuse me. Looking at Texas, I'm looking at Louisiana, I'm looking at Mississippi, I'm looking at Alabama. It shouldn't be so hard for somebody to cast a vote, and it shouldn't be so much disenfranchisement in America. But you've got people who still are ahead of these, that are in these legislators, who want to make it hard for people of color to vote. So they're going to continue to do that. Uh, it's really a sad story when a football coach, an Auburn football coach who kind of abandoned multiple teams, is now a U.S. senator and didn't participate in one debate, doesn't have any kind of policy, just decided to run as a Republican and won in Alabama. That's a damn shame. It's a damn shame, unfortunately, when in South Carolina you've got this superstar in Jamie Harrison, but South Carolina proves that they just want more of the same. But not only on top of that, you've got areas in South Carolina where the voter turnout was more than it ever has been. But still, as my mom said, my mom worked in a precinct that was majority Democrat, but only 43% of registered Democrats actually came out to vote. It was more than normal, way more than normal, but still not enough to put South Carolina over. These southern states have a history of suppressing people of color and their votes. So I think one of the things that we definitely need to change for the next election cycle, especially in 2024, we need to start canvassing way more in some of these southern states. I think that's something that the Democratic Party needs to just really, really, really focus on, as well as continuing to build the blue wall up north. You just got it back. Congratulations. But there's still so much that we can do, because there's 30 or 40% black people that live in these southern states. Literally, like, you got Louisiana, you got Alabama, you got Mississippi, you got Georgia, you got South Carolina. And from the way it looks, Georgia might actually be the one to first break through that Red Sea, is what we call it, and vote Democratic. Shout out to Georgia, man. They really, really came out and showed up and showed out for real when it came to the vote. I got to give them props, man. Atlanta and Savannah really, really came through. Obviously, it's going to go to a recount, but at this point in juncture, Biden is leading by almost 5,000 votes now. So Yeah, shout out to Georgia, man. Y'all really did the damn thing. So we have to get that kind of support, not only just in Georgia, but the other southern states as well. Florida's going to be one of those because you got the Cuban vote that will obviously vote Republican. So, but if we put in the work, we could really, really make a difference. So that way, the people of color can actually get a chance to actually live and thrive in this country the way we want them to, or the way we need them to. So that's something I think that we can work towards. Not so what you got.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I ain't meant to throw you on the spot like that, but
repeat the question.
Say what do you think we can do to make the next election better? Not only just the presidential election, but midterms too. But what do you think will make what we can do to make the next election cycle easier?
I think how we can make this the next election easier is doing things in an orderly fashion.
Okay.
I think that this time it worked as far as like, again, it's that process of just allowing things to fall where they may.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the voting, I do think that the early voting was good.
Yep.
I do think that the early voting was good. But I think that we need to remain consistent. If this is the way that we're going to go as far as voting, and allowing it, having time to actually count the votes correctly, then we need to be consistent with it.
Cool. We still got a lot of work to do. As I said in the last couple of episodes, we still got a lot of work to put in. Obviously, all lives can't matter till Black Lives Matter. I'm always going to say that. We are going to continue to work to be sure that life improves for people of color, but especially for Black people. I do have to give a shout out to Biden, because when he was naming all of the people in his acceptance speech, he really was like, he made a point to say that African Americans saved his hide, for lack of a better term. They pretty much put him in the position that he needed to be to start during the primaries. So Black people really carried him, not only through the primaries, but also through this election. So it's only fair that that he looks out for the people who put him in the position that he's in now, and we're hoping that he can do that. I know he's got a few plans in his first 100 days, and I know one of those plans, not only to join the, get back with the Paris Climate Accords, and to, of course, get back with the World Health Organization, and to do things to be sure that we stop the spread of COVID-19. But I read somewhere, of course, he was talking about canceling $50,000 in student loan debt just in his first 100 days, just by executive order. Now, the other portion of that, I guess he'll have to go through Congress. But if he can at least cancel that on his own in his first 100 days, then, hey, look, I'm $100,000 in the hole. So cutting it down by half, shoot, man, let me find out.
At least by all of it.
yeah. Hey, look, I would be appreciative if it was all of it, but shoot, if you could cut it down by half, bet, cool, that works for me.
I think we are going to be looking for more results, less talk. The last 4 years
more action.
Has been
a lot of talk.
A lot of talk with no action.
A lot of talk, no action. So he's just gonna have to show up and show out.
We've also have learned a form of patience. Because, like I said, with so much talk having happened, we were patiently waiting for results that we, in turn, were probably never going to get in the first place. It was just a way of controlling, again, emotions.
Yep.
I don't think that we should let any of the things that have happened this year fall to the wayside. Continue to protest, and within your means, don't go out here and get sick trying to stand for your cause, but also don't let your cause fall to the wayside because of a lack of preparedness that could have happened from high up, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think this whole pandemic situation could have very well been avoided had the necessary ramifications taken place. It just so happened that it didn't. We know who to blame. There's nothing we can do now except for move forward and try to focus on the big picture, which is regaining a clean and healthy country and, possibly not having to deal with this ever again.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, the idea of dealing with that shit, the idea of dealing with another 4 years of bullshit, it's out the door.
Yeah.
Like, no, I could never fathom that. I could never stomach that. Another year.
I ain't even gonna hold.
You can wish your dreams goodbye if that was the case.
I was sitting there watching the night of the election, and I'm just like, what if it is by some cruel fate that he gets reelected?
I'm moving. I'm moving.
I threatened to leave last time, but no, for real. I'm like, nah, I'm out of here.
Nah, had he got a second term, I was definitely going to be looking for other avenues of living.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Canada doesn't sound too bad because at least they believe in free healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Free education. That's too close to home. You know what I'm saying? If I'm trying to get as far away from.
I would say Africa, but Africa is going through some shit right now. So
yeah, it's not looking too good.
It's not looking too good for the motherland right now.
Yeah. We already know what the motherland is going through right now, especially with everything.
But the motherland will prevail.
Oh, okay? It will.
Oh, she will.
Yeah.
Mother Africa will always stand.
So. Those, again, if you haven't been paying attention, just pay attention to what's going on in Nigeria, what's going on in the Congo as well. Everywhere in Africa, of course.
I was say it's a little bit everywhere.
Yeah. But I definitely want you guys to, definitely pay attention to what's going on. If you can support them in any way, do that. But yeah, you already know how I feel about that in SARS. So, that being said, I think it's a good point for us to sign off because we know what we have to do as far as put in work to make sure that this thing goes the way that it should and that we can hold Biden accountable. But we also need to be sure that, again, we do what we're supposed to do in the Senate. So, if I have any listeners in Alaska, continue to vote. Well, I can't say continue to vote. We just have to hope and wait for the results to come out in there as far as the Senate race there. But if that doesn't turn out the way that it turns out, and then if the race in North Carolina goes Republican, then it all falls on Georgia to pretty much bring this home. So if you are in Georgia right now, again, get these two into office. You show that what you can do to get Trump out. Now do what you got to do to get these two in the Senate in, so that way the changes that you want to see can at least get started. It's going to be kind of difficult because it's going to be an even split in the Senate, with the exception of the tiebreaker vote. But still, do what you can, because another 2 years in the hands of Mitch McConnell is not ideal for any of us at all. At all. We've seen how low Mitch is willing to go. You saw what he did with the Supreme Court.
Which I'm glad you mentioned that because I was just thinking about it. So his plan from before this even became a thing, and he was probably even thinking about re-election, was probably for him to, if he were to have lost, which he has, was to take and charge it to the Supreme Court, which he had his wonderful additions made there, so that he could possibly swing it to be in his favor. Again, Fortune 500 move, not leader of a nation move.
Yep. And I'm glad you brought that up. But the thing about the Supreme Court is that I don't think that I know for certain they're not going to swing it his way, because it's like, dude, you have no proof. The burden of proof lies on you. Even if you try to swing this to the Supreme Court, Pennsylvania, you're behind way too much to even make a difference in a dent. You can say what you want about Wisconsin, but they're still counting votes. They're still, Biden's lead is still there. Biden's lead is still in Michigan. There's no do-overs here, guys. It's literally just Trump loss. Yeah. And he has to live up with that. I know he's still going to try some shady-ish. I know that he's definitely going to try and take this to the Supreme Court, as you know, he's going to use all of his avenues. But honestly, to God honest truth, I don't see a path for him to be successful, because it's really difficult to do that anyway.
Stick a fork in him.
Yeah, he's done. Like when he said, "Get that son of a bitch out of there," when he was talking about Kaepernick. Well, look how the tables have turned.
Right.
Fired.
Fired. You have the release of your penis, sir.
You've been fired.
And that's not also just for Trump as well. His entire cabinet, honestly, I'm glad that they're gone. I'm
about to say, I'd be surprised if they don't go in and sweep. No, they're gonna have to disinfect the White House.
Yes.
Disinfect it, sage it, everything.
Yeah. I about to say they need to just go ahead, just have a plan in order to just take anything that was in there now, clean it, and replace it, because I wouldn't want to go in behind
that
at all.
Either. I did see something about where Trump, of course, has not invited Biden to the White House yet. I don't expect him to. Either way, Biden knows his way around the White House anyway.
I'm about to say he was there for
8 years. He was vice president, so he knows his way around it. You know, you ain't got to tell him how to get there or anything like that, or show him around or whatnot. He's just gonna come in. If you don't invite him, he's just gonna come in on January 20th and be like, "Hey, I already know what to get done and what to get started. We're gonna start making moves." He's starting to make moves now. So, but that being said, guys, for all of my listeners, we definitely appreciate you listening today to our election reaction. We still have a lot of work to do, but we're glad that we're able to talk about this today. A lot of pent-up frustration, stress, a lot of things we're building on our backs for these last 4 years, and just to know that the election results came the way that they did was just a huge sigh of relief for everybody, and even a celebration for a lot of people across this country. So that being said, we appreciate you listening. Like, share, subscribe to the Chaotic Culture Podcast on Facebook and on Twitter as well at chaotic_culture. Be sure that you follow us on Instagram at Chaotic Culture Pod. Follow us on our Instagram pages. You'll see the description below for this episode on where to follow us, where to listen to us. NASA has a video coming out.
Oh my God, yes I do. Yes, I do.
Yes, so please pay attention to that. NASA actually was just in another music video as well. Talk a little bit about that. You can go ahead and plug it in real quick.
Yes, go see my music video with RJ Stackhouse. It's called Silence. We got another song that we're gonna put out. Not sure when, but we do have another song together. But go watch that.
We're shout out to RJ Stackhouse, of course. Go listen to his projects. Always we always gotta support our own. Shout out to Scoozy. I gotta throw his name out there. You will be hearing from him very soon on this podcast. So pay attention to that. He will be coming through before Thanksgiving, I believe. And it should be a very fun and interesting episode. So be on the lookout for that, ladies and gentlemen. So go follow him, of course, as well. Get a little plug in there, before the actual episode drops and whatnot. So if you need to follow him, of course, he's a dope artist out of Newport News. I always got to see Newport News, not Hampton. But he's a dope artist out of Newport News, currently between Newport News and Richmond. But he's always, putting out projects. Shout out to the Tribe of Finesse. Follow him, SKUZ2Eyes. That's how you follow him on Instagram. Support Black business. Always support Black business. And any plugs real quick, Law, that you got?
Continue streaming The Best Feeling.
Yep, for Tyrone Leak Jr.
And I Supply the Product by Phil.me.
Yep. As always, continue to stream RJ's projects as well. Self-care, self-harm. As always, stream Welcome to the Station by NASA.
You already know. Welcome to the station.
Ari.
Yes.
Ari, yes, Miss Ari Lachey.
Definitely.
Miss Ari Lachey.
Listen to her.
Miss Ari Lachey. I said Ari Lachey.
Yeah.
It's Ari Lachey. My bad, baby.
Imogen, please go out and listen to her music as well.
Zay Blaze. Quarter Beats. Or no. Mike.
I guess, but quarter. We'll just stick with that.
Yeah.
And again, shout out to Mike. He provided us with some interesting tunes here, which of course you will be hearing on this podcast very, very soon. We do have a second season coming out very soon as well, and you will hear that when the second season drops. So be on the lookout for that. All right. If nothing else, guys, once again, guys, thank you for joining us for this episode. Please continue to stay safe out there despite the election results. Please be safe. It is a very turbulent time right now. You've got people who agree with you, and then you've got people who really, really, really want to hurt you and harm you. So please protect yourselves. Thank you again, guys, for tuning into the Chaotic Culture Podcast. This has been Ked the Pro once again with Law and also be blessed. Be safe. God is love. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our pod and check out previous episodes as well. Go ahead and follow the Chaotic Culture Podcast page on Facebook and follow at Chaotic Culture Pod on Instagram. Also, be sure to follow our personal pages. You can follow Law on Instagram at L.JR_96 and myself, K3D the Pro, on Instagram and Twitter. Please also do us the courtesy and follow our featured artists and guests listed in the episode description. If you like this beat, follow at the RJ Stackhouse on Instagram and his Twitter page at RJ Stackhouse for more music and music-related content. I hope today's episode blessed your souls and stimulated your mind. Until next time, folks, remember, embrace the culture, survive the chaos. This has been Ked the Pro with Chaotic Culture Podcast. Be blessed, be safe. God is love. Peace.